Good morning, everybody. I am Fire Lotus. These are my morning live daily witches chats. I do these Monday through Friday, starting from anywhere from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Here recently, though, it's been from 10 a.m. Also, with that, shout out to everybody who's listening to this to a podcast. I hope everybody who's seeing this and or listening and or watching, I hope you all had an amazing holiday. But I can say this, thank God I can finally say this. I'm so glad that the holidays are officially over. For multiple reasons. One of the reasons that the holidays just tend to screw up any type of like normacy. And I'm also about to do the thing that I normally do. With that, for anybody who is viewing and or listening, for the first part of this, I will be sharing the link, but right now I'm currently using this amazing sage vibrational spray that my amazing friend and owner and operator of Three Sleeping Eyes Apothecary, she makes it. Loads of other stuff. Y'all should totally check her out. She has an Etsy, she has a Facebook, she has an Instagram, and again, that is Three Sleeping Eyes Apothecary. You should totally check her out. I know she's got some good stuff. She's always updating new stuff. She makes soaps, sprays, body washes, so much other stuff. She makes teas. Her anxiety tincture, if for anyone who has anxiety or even problems sleeping, her anxiety tea, holy shit. Totally check her out. Hello. But I know I did not advertise that I was doing this at all. I originally wasn't. Last night, and for the past, actually since the 25th, I've been either doing personal magic and some personal stuff or some other stuff. By the way, everybody who wanted to be in that candle was made. In the group Dwellers of the Hollow later on today, at some point today, I will be dropping some pictures of how, or the process of that, and then I'll drop some more pictures so you can actually see. And I've been burning it. It burned last night, charged during the eclipse, and the new moon. And then I will also, this is something I do have to show you. Sorry for everybody who's listening to this as a podcast, but this bottle right here, this has rainwater, moon water, eclipse water, solar water, blood red moon water that I've collected, I would say, roughly in the past 5 to 4 years. We'll safely say 4. And there's one particular bottle of an eclipse that I got to experience here on the property that I live on. And the reason I collected it was because it actually went over the lake, so I collected lake water. And that bottle was not open, so it'd been sealed for I think 2 years until last night. But this right here is a mixture of all the storm water, all the water that I have, and mixed with some other goodies. It honestly smells amazing, and you're like, wait, that's like stale rainwater. Come on, we know how to make things smell good. Anyways, so yeah, that was made. I've been overdoing myself. But at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right? That's what I would assume it's all about. No, I'm joking. You have to take care of yourself. To be a witch, you have to take care of yourself. To be a spiritual person, you have to take care of yourself. But I made a dedication to my listeners, to my watchers, to my viewers, to my sprouts out there, that I would do these Monday through Friday, unless it's a holiday or specifically other said. So, here I am. Which is amazing, because I do have a couple things to talk about. For one in particular, okay, first, see, the holidays have got me out of my routine. For anyone who is listening or watching, if you haven't already, you should totally download Astro Matrix, the app. I talk about it I try to talk about it in every episode or show that I do. It's completely free. They do have a subscription plan, but basically, for anyone who uses horoscopes or zodiacs and stuff like that, and you've never kind of truly found that one that's just hits home every single day, this amazing app does that for you. The only thing you will need to download the app, or once you download it, is the exact time you were born and the location you were born at. That's it. Enter that information. It creates and pulls your natal chart and or birth chart. And basically, for the people that don't know what that is, that's basically a screenshot of the exact sky at the exact moment you came into the universe. And with that, you can predict so much stuff. You can predict life events. It breaks you down, like your personality, emotionally, intelligently, all of it. It breaks you all down. But the reason I love it so much, and I use it religiously, due to the simple fact it gives you hourly updates of the moons, the planets. You get daily updates of, like, you know, for these certain days with these planets moving in your ninth house, this is how you may feel, or this is how you will feel. You get daily quotes, you get a daily tarot card. It's so, so amazing. On top of that, for everybody who keeps up with the retrogrades, you also get a personalized retrograde calendar. Like, it tells you when the retrogrades are, when they end, everything, and it's an amazing app. And none of this is sponsored, I do have to say that. None of it is, and that's okay, because I love sharing and talking about, well, this. Like, I love, hold on, again, for the people that's, like, probably asking what the hell I'm doing, I am sharing, getting the name out there that, you know, I am going live. But, for one, I'm glad the holidays are over. I will say, yesterday, I don't know what Christmas magic or holiday magic was going on, but yesterday was one of the best Christmases or Yule that mine and my partner's family has ever had. And it was so cool because, which most people, I mean, unless you have kids, I guess, I don't know, I guess me and my partner's just weird. I got gifts, we've exchanged some things, but here recently, especially since I've gotten older and we've both matured to where we're supposed to be, I kind of realized that, like, I mean, yeah, you know, it's like, if you're going to give me something, I'd rather wait until my birthday. Because for Christmas and holidays, yeah, it's exciting opening stuff, you know, but at the same time, like yesterday, we showed up at like 9 something in the morning. We helped his dad smoke Boston Bud, and then all of us literally just hung out with each other. We laughed, we talked about different things, and then we watched movies and ate, and that was it. But that was all that we needed. It was like that day that everybody needed. That was just, there was no stress. There were laughs. They were cutting up. I had no anxiety I have no issues with my anxiety. And due to how the Western civilization is, and I primarily say the West because I haven't lived anywhere else, so I don't know what the world's like. But we tend to somehow focus and lose the real meaning of Christmas. Now, if you have kids, I completely understand, you know, going out and getting them stuff, and that's fine. But the one thing I used to hate seeing, my mother always, I guess she'd never realized that I understood it or I could see it, but I hated the Christmases she would put herself into debt just to make sure we had something. And I understand it because it's the experience, which is something, if you know me, or if you were to ask my partner, he'd probably roll his eyes when I brought this up. But with me and life in general, I'm more about the experience. That's why I have an Instagram. That's what led me to create my Instagram, was so I could have a place to store all of these amazing memories. And either in some of my worst days with my battle with depression, you know, I can look back and be like, wait, there is life out there, you know. This is just a little mood that I'm going in. And it has helped me so much because I can look back also on those posts, or on those pictures per se, because with me, I'm a photographer at heart. So yeah, you have Facebook, and yeah, you do all that with your Facebook. I understand that. And I use the Facebook as well. But with me in general, a picture speaks to me more. A picture literally is 1,000 words. It's worth 1,000 words. And I can look back on my post and be like, wow, I believe this, or I looked at the world this way 10 years ago on this date. And to be able to sit back and, like, see how far I've become, like, full circle, it's amazing, and it can give you like power on some of those days that you didn't think you had, because if you look back on those pictures and you're like, wow, I remember this day. This day was one of the worst days in 2017, right? But we always focus on how far we've come or the battles that we still have to face. But for so long, we never look back to realize, oh shit, look what I just climbed over. Look at the, look at the journey of going through hell, climbing completely through hell, going completely through heaven, and every other fucking place in between. But I'm still here. Because 5 years ago, if you were to ask me, or no, not 5 years ago, when I turned 21, the year that I turned 21, if you were to ask me what I would be doing when I turned 26 or 25, I would tell you it wouldn't be this at all. I've made some of the stupidest mistakes in my life, or the stupidest decisions so far in my life, and I've made some of the greatest decisions in my life. But see, what people don't realize, and this is also especially in the craft, if you are a sprout or if you are new to the craft, this right here, and that leads up to a moment that I had last night actually, but, we forget so much of how far we've come, but at the same time, through that, we also forget that, like, life really does just, like, I never understood that term. I used to hear it a lot when I was growing up, that, like, you need to enjoy your childhood, because once you get to a certain age, it's like you blink and you wake up and it's like 5 years down the road. I've been having that, like, recently. I'm like, holy shit, it's only been 6 years, and look at this, like, 6 years that we're about to end a decade. Think about that. If you're 20-something or if you're 30-something, you've lived through 3 freaking decades. 3 years, 20 years. Think about that. Think about all the shit. Think about all the days, all those moments in any aspect of your life, in the craft, in spirituality, in sexuality, anything, religiously, anything. Think about all those moments where you did not think you could push through. Look where you are now. It is December the 26th, 2019. We are literally days away from being in 2020, which is something I honestly I'm still having trouble wrapping my brain around. Because, like, last night actually, I was writing in my journal, and that was one of the first times I realized when I put 2020, I was like, holy shit. Now, I didn't put the date as 2020, but I was writing about 2020, and that's when it hit me. I was like, holy shit. Like, we did it. We survived. But with the craft and spirituality and stuff, there are 2 things that I wanted to talk about today. For one, me being experienced as I am, and I'm not saying like I'm an expert in any way, shape, or form. I only have 16, 17, because the whole transition, and technically Samhain, this past Samhain was actually, it marked, I think, my 10th anniversary of actually, like, my dedication into the craft. We'll say 16, 17 years. Anyways, I myself forget all the knowledge that I have. So, like, last night, I knew I had to do the candle, and I had to do some other things, but when I walked in my craft room, my mind just went completely blank. And then I started, this is something that's newer to me, and I don't know where it's coming from, it's driving me crazy, but, like, for some reason, I started, like, just overthinking myself, and I was just like, but it's also, and I think I talked about this in my live that I did Monday, I think, with witches in the pagan community, in the witch community, there's this thing that most people are not talking about that I believe it needs to be talked about, which is the pressure that social media or social media platforms are putting on witches. I don't care. Now, when I mean witches, I don't mean, I mean that in the simple fact, you can be practicing a day, you can be practicing for 25 years, you can be practicing for 50 years, you can be seasoned as hell, but at the same time, due to when you go on your social media feeds, especially Instagram, and you see all of these amazing, like, huge spreads for the holidays and all this other stuff, for the people that just either A, don't have the time, B, just don't have it in them, or C, they don't have the energy or the necessities or whatever, it's like we feel like we have to do this. And it's so weird because at first, originally, I thought like I was legit the only one who did that. Like, I thought I was like, because there have been some days and some holidays where I wasn't planning on doing anything, but due to the simple fact I went online and then felt like I was being a bad witch by not doing something on the Sabbath, um, it sets up that doubt, and doubt is the number one killer in your craft, and that's in any craft. I mean, witchcraft, arts and crafts, music, anything. Doubt is the number one killer of that. And here, through these videos, actually, and me listening to other podcasts, and actually it was a specific one person I was talking to, and I was like, my stuff's kind of out there, I'm weird, I'm kind of newer at this, it's like a new spin on things. And she's like, I've seen some of your videos, and from what I can tell, there are a lot more people out there like you than you think. And I didn't realize it until I've been listening to more podcasts, because I listen to podcasts on Spotify and Castbox. Also, people, that is where my podcast is, Fire Lotus the Witch, on Castbox. I don't know when I'm going to be able to move that over to Spotify. There are more other things that I have to go into before that. But anyways, back to it. I've realized that, and this goes into the other topic that I wanted to talk about, is, for one, it's the pressures of social media and what they can do to a witch, no matter if you're new or seasoned. And then on top of that, what dating other pagans can be like. And that's something I don't think anybody's ever talked about. And this could be true enough. Psychologically, it's probably due to, like, self-esteem issues and stuff like that. I'm also calling myself out when I said that. But, it's, they don't talk about it. And with me specifically, when I was, 16, 17, and I'd recently also came out of the broom closet, I had a need almost to where, like, or I had a thought to where I needed to date another witch. I needed to be surrounded by all of these gods and, all of these magical people. And, like, I had to know if I was doing my stuff. I needed validation. And it took me, like, years later to realize what damage it had done. And, my partners did not do it intentionally. Well, most of them didn't. There's one that probably did. But what I was trying to say is most of the partners that I've dated were pagan. And I didn't have the confidence that some of them had. Now, this was not all of my partners. It's only a few. But the majority of anybody I'd been with had actually practiced. Or at one point in time was a practitioner. And through that, specifically one, it was kind of by the book. And with that, it was like, if you're not doing this, if you're not doing this, and you're not doing this, then you're not doing anything wrong. If you don't have a blood ancestor somewhere down your long family line, if you can't find one of those, then you can't be a witch, and you're wasting your time. Okay, the last part, wasting your time, he didn't say. I'm paraphrasing on that. But basically, there are a lot of people that do think to be a witch, you have to have a blood relative linked to a witch trial. I myself also used to think that. That's bullshit. You don't. But if you're dating another pagan, or if you're dating another practitioner, try not to lose who you are. Don't lose your authentic self, because I'm about to say something extremely insane. Even me saying it out loud is going to me sound insane. But for so long, for so many years on my journey in my craft, I was persuaded. Not necessarily persuaded, but I would shift and change and drop things and go back to things, which is honestly, it's what a true witch is supposed to go through, Yes, true enough, there are some people that they hear the calling to the craft, they answer it, they automatically find their path, they're good, they're set, that is them for the rest of their life, and that's fine. But then you have other people like me. And this also goes through with life, too, which is, I never fit. Like, I was never the person to, when I was at a certain age, I knew this, I knew that, I knew I wanted to do this, I knew I wanted to do that. No, I was the opposite. I wanted to do everything. And not because I wanted to be cringy or stingy, but I wanted the experience. Like, could I ice skate? I don't know. I can. I'm very good at ice skating. I've only done it like once or twice, but it's like skiing, surfing, stuff like that. I've never done it. I don't know if I can, but I want to be able to die saying I at least tried. But the insane thing is, here in this year, 2019, have I only realized that I just did a complete full circle in my entire belief system when it comes to spirituality, magic, manifesting, and witchcraft. And the simple fact, I've spent, I would say, 3 or 4 years trying to, like, turn, or I guess maneuver away to what I thought I should be, or where I thought I should have been. Only to realize here in the last month, honestly, that I just did a full circle, and for the first time in probably 15 years, I'm actually getting back to the original core techniques and the stuff that I did when I first got into the craft that I somehow lost. I just completely, like, went astray, and I felt lost. There were moments where I felt like I was on the right path, and there were moments where I was like, there's something missing. And now, though, through y'all have helped with this so much, I realized that everything I was originally doing when I first started the craft, it was right. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you're dating another practitioner, please do not at any point try to compare theirs to yours. Don't. Because every witch is going to be different. I almost said every witch is going to be the same. Every witch is going to be different. Every altar is going to be different. And that's one thing that I love. And being in these groups, helping these newer people out, it's like struck a chord in me, and it like kind of hurts when I hear someone, like, they'll post a picture, and I used to do this a lot. I for some reason I thought I needed validation from other practitioners about how my stuff looked. And of course, what do you do when you ask your opinion or ask other people's opinion? They're going to give it. But what do you do from that? You're hurting yourself because you're taking away from what you were naturally called to, how to set up your altar. But due to the fact that you don't have enough confidence in your craft and in yourself, you're taking that away because you're listening to somebody else. True enough, you asked for it, but that's just because you don't have confidence. So to anybody who has lost confidence in their craft, I'm going to help you find it. Somehow, some way, if it kills me, I'm going to help you find it. And that is the point of my craft. That is the point of my spiritualities. That's the point of this video, is to make sure that all of these newer people stick to their original authentic path. The reason I love looking at other people's altars is because what people don't realize is how a witch sets up their altar. It's also a very, very, very deep, deep emotional raw side to them. It's almost like an artist. If an artist at any point in time picks up their sketchbook or their painting pad and they hand it to you and say, hey, look through this. That right there, for one, says that person trusts you more than anything, because when it comes to art, when it comes to the craft, when it comes to my craft, when it comes to my altar, when it comes to certain other things in the craft, I only allow certain people to experience, to touch it, to see it, or to even be near it. And the reason that is because I'm showing you, literally, to me in my head, it would be like me ripping open my chest and showing you my heart. That is what your craft is. That is what your altar is. So yes, if you read in a book, or if you originally learned that you know I would say witch altar, but I'm also going to, and I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, don't come at me, but I would preferably say Wicca in this. But traditionally, you know, the chalice of the 2 chalices, and then you have the elements, and then all the other stuff that represents all the other stuff. If you want that on your altar just for the aesthetic, that's perfectly fine. But for one, don't lose your authentic side, and don't lose your authentic side to that aesthetic look. And the reason I'm saying that is because I myself, especially using my Instagram, and the reason I wanted to talk about that too. My Instagram, and the reason I talk about it so much, was because it wasn't until 2 years ago that I changed my name on there to I stepped into the name of Fire Lotus the Witch. But the reason I'm so happy about that is because, and I wish I was making these when I was doing that, I believe 2 years ago, I want to say because it's 2019, 2017 to 18, possibly. It could have been 2016 to 2017. But, I had started gaining followers on Instagram. And I've had this one Instagram account for, I think, 11 or 12 years now. Originally creating it, the only thing I knew, it was going to be a book. It was going to be like a digital journal that when I had kids, I was going to show them. And they could basically legit see, okay, wait, he went through the exact same thing I'm going through now. And there's also videos and stuff like that. But when I started gaining followers, I realized that they were liking my craft. They were liking my witchcraft. And this was also when I was starting to take a dramatic shift in how my craft looked. And with me, like I stated, I'm not really the type of witch that keeps a book of shadow. And that's great. You don't have to be. You do not need a grimoire. You do not need a book of shadows. If that works for you, if you are the type of person who is taking notes, who likes to, like, all of that, then that's great. Go do it. But with me, the way my brain works, no. If I were to sit down and, like, make a thing of all my recipes due to my ADD, there would be some pages that would be straight up, it would look like fancy cursive, but in reality, it's just chicken scratch, because my handwriting is horrible. But, I realized that through my Instagram and me building my Instagram, I've built my Instagram organically. My Facebook page that I'm doing this on, I built that from the ground up organically. And what I mean organically is, at no point in time with my Instagram account, with my Facebook account, I've talked about my Facebook account, but I haven't done it, or any other social media account that I haven't bought anything. I haven't paid the site to push my stuff or anything like that. And the reason that is because there are some people that do it, and that's perfectly fine. But the reason I gained so many followers with my Instagram particularly was because back last year when I was living in Alabama and I was taking care of my grandmother and she was going downhill, I had no one to talk to. So I used my Instagram to update on what was going on in my life right then, because it was a very, very, 2017 and 18 was a very spiritual awakening for me, aka my entire life fell apart and came back together, and it is now what it is now. But through that, I realized that for some reason people loved me, like, updating, and it got to a point to where after everything that had happened with my grandmother, and for one, if any of y'all are from my Instagram or here on my Facebook, if y'all did know me back then and y'all helped me or supported me, thank y'all so, so much. If you're listening to this on podcast and you know what I'm talking about, thank you so, so much, because literally, y'all, I was updating daily. I was updating hourly, every single thing that happened. And still, I randomly get posts on random people that since then I haven't spoken to, but they'll randomly message me. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? You know, I just wanted to check on you. And I realized then that that was when I was using Instagram wrong. I wasn't even using this at all. This was actually a dear Facebook friend of mine, Angel, suggested that I did lives. And for my first original lives, I think 5 or 6 lives, possibly, they were actually on my personal page. And then, actually, I've had this Facebook page now for a year, because I made it around this time last year, I believe. And now, look, all the people that's come here is because of y'all, all the people that watch this and share this and talk about this, or just me sharing in groups. And a lot of people say that I self-advertise. Yes, I do self-advertise, but that's not necessarily because I'm all about, making money. No, if I do get customers, then great, it's great, I get customers. But at the end of the day, these podcasts, these videos, these lives, they are all to get people to realize, wait, basically, I guess I'm trying to help everybody find and go back to their original authentic selves. Because throughout life, I know with me, it's taken me at least 5 years and I've changed my look so many times it's not even funny. And here's a confession, like, not even right now, my hair not being like a more vibrant color is driving me crazy. But I'm also getting slightly older. But there's so much stuff, and there's such a big shift in the pagan world, and I didn't really understand it or see it truly until now, of how big and how much of a change that is. Again, I'm just sharing these posts. But with that being stated, you won't let me. Alrighty then. Technical issues with that. For anyone who does see my podcast, I did want to say, I have some issues, and I kind of wanted to see if it was just my issues. I have, one or two issues with, like, they won't play, and it says, like, audio error, and then right after that, like, I can go back later, and it'll play. It's very weird. If that happens, let me know, though, because I'm trying to, and again, I did want to state this for anybody who is new that starts joining me, I am trying my best to keep up with everything that I say I'm going to do in all these lives. I did just want to put this out there. I battle with a lot of disorders and disabilities and stuff, but through that, I'm also running all of these platforms myself. By myself, nobody else, just me. And those platforms are Instagram, Facebook, this Facebook page, Fire Lotus the Witch, my personal Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. 5, 6, 7. That's 7 accounts. And I have a blog. That's 8 accounts that I'm trying to, like, sustainably get to everybody and hold everything up. But big news and announcement that is coming very, very soon. And I share everything with y'all. I try to be as transparent as possible with everybody. So, the issue that I was having was my partner, he is on a set schedule. Basically, Monday through Saturday, we know what time he works, we know what time he gets off. So, normally how these goes, how my typical day goes, I'm going to fast through a lot of stuff, but I wake up 6, 7 o'clock, sometimes 8, get ready, do these, and then after these, I'll do stuff around the house, you know, all the adulting shit. And then I kind of wait until for him to get home. He gets home normally around 6 or 7. And then normally when he gets home, we eat, we hang out, and that's our time, and then, you know, we go to sleep. And this has just been our thing for, like, since our entire relationship. But this right here, and the issue that I was having was once I started doing these, and I had some people and be like, can you do lives at night? I was like, it kind of infringes, like, on my personal life with my partner. And when I told him that, he looked at me and he goes, are you fucking stupid? I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I can be a little slow sometimes. Again, he didn't mean that insult. He goes, I believe in you. He goes, I know what you're doing. I've seen what you're doing. I see how many people you're helping and reaching. And he goes, if you ever, at any point in time, if you have to go back there and do something, do a live or anything, he goes, I consider what you're doing your work. He goes, remember that. He goes, you don't have to constantly be here. Like, you don't have to be with me as I go to sleep. And for the people that don't know me, for me, I'm an Aries. A true Aries at heart. I'm actually Aries Virgo. But anyways, I'm a fire sign. And with that, like, I'm not going to get into how I am in relationships. But, I'm very kind of old school when it comes to relationships. I view relationships old school. Like, love letters, all that shit. Actually, when me and my partner first got together, when we first started talking, the second day, because we'd message each other, and that following morning, what I used to do, and I still do it, is every morning that I woke up, I would text him, good morning, and he goes, you don't know, he goes, that second day that we knew each other, he goes, me looking down on my phone, receiving a text that said, good morning, how's your morning going, or how's work? He goes, I've never had that before. He goes, people don't do that much anymore. And that was what it took. But I'm very old when it comes to that. I'm an old soul when it comes to relationships. So he told me, he's like, you know, we can work something out. And I started thinking about it. So I'm like, okay. We have this. And then he's into WWE and WWF and all that stuff. So I was like, how about this? I was like, Saturdays, we already know those days are reserved for Tipsy Saturdays or Tipsy Conspiracy Saturdays. And I got to do another conspiracy one very soon. But I was like, what if I pick 2 days out of the main week, Monday through Friday, 2 of those days for basically to where I can, I'm basically theoretically working from day to get up from the time that I do. So, with that being stated, I haven't picked out the dates yet, but I will be introducing live witches chats PM or night, live witches night chat. I don't know what it'd be called, but I will start to be doing at least. And with that, what I'm going to hopefully do is one of those nights I will do a, say like Tuesday and Wednesday, for example. Tuesday, I would do a live here on Facebook at night, and then Eastern Standard Time. And then, I would do Instagram live, say Wednesday night, Eastern Standard Time, PM Eastern Standard Time. See, it's very weird because with the whole Virgo thing with me, and for the people that's listening on the podcast, I read a comment. I'm trying to figure all this out. One of my friends, a viewer was like, my first daughter is a Virgo, and that's how she is. I did not actually know that you have 2 horoscopes, or 2 zodiacs. I didn't know that you have a lunar and a solar and a lunar. There we go. So I'm a solar Aries and a lunar Virgo, and I still have to, like, research what Virgo is, because, like, there are a lot of traits that I do not get from the Aries, and then there are a lot of traits that I do get, so yeah, basically, you helped me, say something new, actually. I'm a fire sign, and I can relate to being rather traditionally romantic person. Yeah, see, like, I don't understand what happened to that. I mean, I do. I'm using it right now, cell phones. But, like, I'm sorry. I'm a hopeless, diehard romantic. Like, I understand that how books and authors and novels, they, like, romanticize romance. But, like, to me, to make me happy, there's so many people are, like, dating and shit like that. All you gotta do to me is bring me home a bottle of wine. It can be cheap wine. And be like, you know what, I brought some wine, we got this, we're going to go, and we're going to sit outside and drink wine and look at the stars. That's a date to me. Like, you don't have to buy me roses and all this other shit just to show me you love me. Because to me, if my partner were to plan something for me, most people would, go extravagant and all this other solar Cancer, lunar Pisces. I'm super sensitive. My partner's a Pisces. So yeah, I did. It's weird too because I'm extremely sensitive, and I don't know if that comes from the Aries, which could be the passionate side, or the Virgo side. But like, I'm one of those traditional ones. Like, for the longest time, my partner that I'm with now is the one that broke it. For the longest time, I was that weirdo, even though I was 16, 17, 18, 21, 22. If I was on a date with somebody and, like, I went to kiss them, I would actually ask permission before I did it. Like, that's how old school I am. I would rather get a love note than a box of chocolates. Because the box of chocolates, actually, I still have a little chocolate, dog, that my partner, got me when we first got together. Now, of course, I'm not going to eat it because it's old, but, and then I still have the box. Like, that's me, though, because I can look back on them and see them. Like, I can look back on the notes. For example, I do have to do one video. I'll do a special video. Yes, see, like, what happened to that? Because it takes 5 minutes to send a text message. And if you are going to do the text message thing, send me a fucking paragraph. Like, come on. All this small talk. And then, don't even get me started on the whole LGBT, the gay community, and the whole grinder, the grinder culture, or hooking up culture. Yes, exactly. All looking at the stars. I'm reading the comments for the people that are listening for podcasts. Stars, hanging with my partner is the best. Time spent and the experiences are so much better than stuff. Yes. They're so sensitive and high C outbursts that are unbelievable, but she's also kind. I've realized that too. When it comes to people that's sensitive like me, and this is slightly different from your daughter, I'm assuming, I have bipolar and I have PTSD. So due to that and due to a lot of things that I went through when I was younger, I had and still have a lot of rage issues. So like there is a Jekyll and Dr. Hyde to me in a way. I have controlled that a lot more, but I've realized that a lot of sensitive people are those people that just have that side that's just like they're almost a rose. They're so delicate and pure and innocent. They also have like that like you don't want to piss them off or upset them because what they're going to say to you, it's going to hurt you. Not in a negative way, but with me, for example, like I'm very quiet and I'm very reserved, especially in a social gathering in an unfamiliar environment. I may not be saying anything, but guarantee you I'm taking everything in and I'm listening to everything that's being said. And a weakness or a curse and a gift at the same time that I have is I'm that type of friend, and I view friends, I guess, like you would view, like I said, I view romance in the old school way. I view friendship in that way too, which is if you consider yourself my friend and you see that I'm doing something stupid, like don't come at me and tell me, don't attack me, but step to me or come to me and be like, yo, I'm trying to be your friend here, and this is me like shaking you, telling you, what the hell are you doing? Wake up, this is not what you're doing. And it's so hard to find that, but I'm that type of person. Like, I will legit, if I am triggered to a point to where I completely go off on somebody verbally, every single thing that I state will not be a lie. It will be the cold, hard, unfiltered truth. And the issue that I've had with that is I myself have stepped over boundaries due to what I said, because the stuff that I said, it's very true, but it wasn't necessarily my place to say it. But at the same time, when I get close to someone and I consider them a friend, I am that friend that will come to you or likes to come to you and be like, yo, what the hell are you doing? No, I'm not trying to control you, but wake the hell up. There are flashing signs like, come on, wake up. And some people can't handle that, and some people can. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read all these comments. Hi. I'm a Cancer, and if you hurt me, you hurt my feelings, I'll cut you. I hear everything. Yes! The blink button, LOL. Yes, yes. Exactly, like, tell me kindly. Like, come to me kindly, but, like, get the point across. But if you automatically come to me in aggressive tone, and aggressive body language, and all that shit, no. And I am sensitive and also that weird person to where I don't care what anyone says. I, like, somebody can text me, and it's like I pick up the attitude that they had before they sent it. It's very weird. It's like being a 21st century empath, I guess. But like it drives me crazy that some of these old school values, they're honestly what needs to come back. I'm almost a Pisces, born March 24th rather than the 20th. I thought I was a Pisces since I was 14. I have 2 siblings that are Pisces. My partner's a Pisces, and it's very weird because me and my partner are in my head, we're the perfect balance in a lot of things. Everything that I lack or I can't do, he can, and vice versa. Like, in a way, we're like Beauty and Beast. He's the burly, like, right now he's doing the Viking thing, so he's growing his beard out. Or Norse thing. I'm not going to say Viking thing. Norse thing. The burly man, he's got tattoos everywhere. Like, a lot of people don't even realize he's gay. Like, straight up, my aunt, for example, my Aunt Tammy, bless her heart, she, like, I showed her a picture of her, and she was like, he's not gay. What? And I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, he is. But at the same time, he is that man that, like, you see in public, and you don't know if you can go up and say hi to him just because he's kind of hard to read. But what I love about him so much is he is that manly man, like, masculine. But when it comes to an insect, or a bug, or a turtle, he will stop. Like, he will not squish a bug, he will not squish a spider, he will literally stop what he's doing, even if he's at work. He has a nickname at work because of it. He will stop what he's doing to go and make sure that beetle or that other insect or that bug was taken out of harm's way and put somewhere safe. And I looked down the first time he did that, and I'm like, you do realize you're like a complete mind fuck, like of complete. And he looked at me and he goes, well, they're innocent. They don't know anything, and they were here first. Why should I kill him because we invaded his territory? And I was just like, oh my god, my heart just melted. But, and like, I'm extremely sensitive to a point to where I've had a lot of people tell me I'm too sensitive or I'm being too sensitive. And then he's more logic and like, you know, he's kind of that, he needs to see it, believe it, it's real. Me, on the other hand, I'm that more la-di-da-da, head in the clouds, you know, I'm happy as hell looking through a pile of rocks, finding a bunch of rocks, which has become a tradition that me and him have, at our, my father-in-law's house. They have a lot of river walks, so, like, every time we go over there for a family gathering, I've been collecting them. Actually, for example, that. I don't know why they fascinate me so much, but they're like, to see a rock so flat and so smooth, it's just, it's mind-blowing. But, yeah, I don't know where I was going with all that. Which I do that in these, I completely do that in these videos. That is literally what I do, and the reason I do them is because, like, for one, it's how my brain works. Completely how my brain works. But that's also how I get some of the information out that I get out. And for Valentine's, I just want to say something because I don't really truly like do the whole Valentine's Day. I don't even know the true history behind it. But for February, there will be one live to where I will dedicate it to my partner and like tell the story and everything of how we met, because it's very, it really is an amazing story. There were so many things that had happened in both of our lives that once we got together, certain chapters closed all around us in both of our lives. And then with my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, they actually got together and married, like, as I came in. Like, I was down here 3 days before they got married. So it's very, very cool, because last night we realized something that we all had family issues. There were a lot of family gatherings where there were just miscommunications. And last night, everything went smoothly. Like, it was perfect. And I realized why. And this is another important message for anybody who works with who's in a relationship, who works with other people, family matters, anything like that. This right here is the perfect way of wording it too. When you get newer people together, it takes, psychologically, I think it's like 4 to 6 years, but it takes time. Thank you. It takes time to learn your love language, to learn each other's communication. And then when you introduce that to another newer thing, like, for example, like I said, me and my partner got together, and then my partner's dad, my father-in-law, and mother-in-law had just got together, so their relationship and our relationship kind of started and, like, grew in a way at the same time, and we would have issues. Well, last night when we were driving home, I was like, I realized what it was. Everybody has gotten comfortable and found their certain communication in their relationship, and due to that, we were all so new, but yet we were trying to do everything. It's like when you walk to a game store and you get a game, one of the best games, like a hard game, and we're so excited to play it and to, you know, to get in there and to do it, that we throw it in our system. And 15 minutes later, you know, a remote controller gets thrown across the room because you don't know what you're doing because you didn't read the book. Well, when it comes to relationships, there's not really books. But with me and my partner, now, don't get me wrong, we've had a very, very colorful past. We've had 2 years where we broke up. I moved away. We got back together. Like, it was the whole, like, all of that. And it's so funny because, like, we laugh at it now. Some of the biggest arguments or fights we've had were all due to disagreements. And a lot of the times we were saying the same thing, or we were trying to tell each other we understood what each other was trying to say, but we weren't truly listening. And it's so important, especially if you're dating someone or if you're with someone who has anxiety, who has depression, or stuff like that. You do have to kind of not necessarily give more, but at the same time, like my partner, for example, as of right now, because I'm trying to currently get my disability, I'm not, and I can't work. Currently, I rarely leave my house due to agoraphobia and a bunch of other issues. Um, so right now he is working. He's bringing in the money. And for so long, I was not comfortable with that. And other parts of our relationship and other times where he was the one that was bringing in the money and I wasn't, it kind of created that, like, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I'm not bringing in money, I'm not helping the house, I'm not building. And it's when he looked at me one day and he's like, you do realize if it wasn't for you, I couldn't do everything I'm doing now. He goes, yeah, true enough, a lot of people, they're going to give comments about, you not working, me doing everything like that. He goes, but what you do, I wouldn't be able to do this. He goes, you're the one that makes sure I have clean clothes in the morning. You're the one that makes sure I have something to eat. You're the one that reminds me to do this. You're the one that helps me pay bills. He goes, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. And see, it clicked in my head then what we found that right balance. And I'm okay with it. Like, I love cleaning houses. Like, I've helped my aunt's cleaning company before. I love cleaning houses. But it's also, you can't compare yourself to anybody else. That's one thing. You cannot. It's not going to happen. And then we were also talking about, that kind of got brought into love magic, and like, a lot of people will say that, or some witches say that love magic is kind of dark magic. But this is what I wanted to say about that. So many people, at the same time, love magic, I would have to say, excuse me, it can be some of the most powerful magic you will ever do. But with that, there are two other things that I would give this warning to, but specifically with this one, because what a lot of practitioners do not take into mind is, yes, we have the ability, everybody has the ability to do, magic, and yes, comparison is a thief of joy. It so is. But when it comes to magic, like, for example, if you do a job spell, or if you do a glamour on your application to make sure you get this job, or to make sure they pick your application, do you not also see that on the other aspect of the ethnicity, I guess, or ethnics, you're kind of boosting, in a way, cheating, so therefore you're taking that away from somebody else. Well, when it comes to love magic, you have to be very, very careful with what type of spell you're doing, how you word that spell, and if you fully thought it out. Due to these simple things. For one, this goes with any spell, once you set that spell loose, there's no pulling it back. Like, you cannot, to quote one of my favorite movies, because it's one of the best ways to word it, The Craft, which is, once you open a floodgate, how do you stop it? You can't. You can't just close it back. You have to let it run its course. With that, though, when you're talking about love magic, when you're talking about infatuation, when you're talking about obsession, when you're talking about lust, when you're talking about that animalistic shit, honestly, Twilight, basically, what the romantic-sized books romanticize romance about, you have to be extremely careful, and you have to know the person you're trying to do it on, because, and this is in a way theoretically, but it's the perfect way to think about it, is, yeah, you may do a spell to, for one, there's also difference. Personally, with me and my love spells, or the love magic that I do, I don't like, personally, per saying, how do I word that? Personally, outside of my business, personally, I don't like doing spells to make other people fall for them. I like doing spells to call your perfect mate, or to help the universe send that perfect mate to you. But to make somebody fall in love, the reason that to me that sets a wrong taste in my mouth, I guess, is because what happens if you were to do a spell, man, woman, a person, I'll say a person, and what you did not know was somewhere throughout their life, or through their family medical history or mental history, they have schizophrenia, or they have schizophrenia with obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. Yes, enhancing what's already there. Exactly. Glamoring yourself. Not really glamoring yourself, but kind of yourself. But what happens if you do that spell to make that person swoon over you, right? And here's the thing with that. You do it, and then the lust that you had for them, because, come on, let's go ahead and get this out there. To really, truly, especially if you are a little bit, which if you're not 18, if you're not above the age of 18, you should not be listening to or watching these videos. But to see if it's just a crush before you were to do a spell, to see if it's just a crush, or if it's an like an infatuation, or if it's an actual kind of like real thing. Tell somebody you're crushing on that person. And you're like, what? Trust me, I know, you're like, what? If you tell somebody you were crushing on somebody, and it goes away, those feelings, those butterfly feelings, then it was just a crush. It was just an infatuation. That was it. But if you tell somebody you have a crush on them, and it doesn't go away, then, look into that. But for one, if you do a spell to make someone fall in love with you, I guarantee you these things will wind up happening. A, you're going to realize after he's basically, depending on how the spell has worked, that this person is basically, it was an infatuation, and you're over it. The problem is, you did magic, and you called upon the universe to help. So, this person is basically obsessed with you. Not as in, they're hiding in the bushes or anything like that, but literally, spells can literally make people, in a way, go crazy, especially when it comes to love magic, because what is the one damn thing on this earth that can make the most normal, sane person completely lose their shit? Love. Love makes you do stupid, crazy things. But it's amazing. Love is an amazing experience. It's also a very powerful experience. Love is very, very powerful. When it comes to that type of magic, you can move mountains with a grain of rice. But at the same time, you can create like some psycho, obsessive, compulsive fear, movie-based fear, the movie Fear. You don't want that. So, until you are more experienced, or if you're just not comfortable, do a glamour spell to help enhance, like the viewer said, enhance the beauty that's already there with you. Why make somebody fall in love with you? Because at one point in time, if it doesn't end up like that, there will be some point in time, and it could be the most happiest point of this relationship. You're going to stop, and you're going to be like, wait, is he in love? Are they in love with me, or is it the spell? And so much other shit can go horribly wrong. And trust me, speaking from personal experience, especially when you're experimenting or you think you know what you're doing when you really don't, love spells can also, or attraction spells can also, if not worded right or done right, it can cause very, very confusing love triangles. Again, speaking from personal experience. Exactly. You don't want to create that wrong bind. And like with that goes into a lot of other things. Like, with the, actually, thank you for mentioning that, because I'm going to slightly switch this up a little bit. For the people that do banishings, or some of what most people may, they can make it sound a little bit harsher than it is. There are differences between hexes, curses, banishings, bindings, all warding, all the other shit you can do. For one, they're completely different things. And with me personally, I can do them all. I can because I have the experience in them or the knowledge in them, but that doesn't mean I will. Honestly, for me to curse, I've only honestly done 3 curses that I can truly say were legit curses. Do I regret them? Fuck yes. With that being stated, also another thing I would advise against, do not do magic in the moment. In that moment of those emotions, no matter if it's good, bad, whatever, be very careful with that. Because you do need not necessarily a clear mind, because everybody is different, and I'm learning that. Because a lot of people say, marijuana for example, a lot of people say that using marijuana in the craft, it doesn't do anything because it actually impairs your mind. But, like we talked about, I believe, in Saturday, the last Tipsy show that I did, what we talked about is for some people, or the people that take that as medicine or use it as medicine, it actually does the opposite effect. So instead of clogging their mind, it opens them up and centers them. Drinking spirit, for example, or drinking alcohol during ritual or magic. Some people will say that that's a bad idea, that it can either, A, it opens you up to... It opens your mind, body, and soul up, but at the same time, it slightly impairs you. So things could get in, or And then, to the other hand of people, that's just like, no, you're adding toxic to your body. But with me, for example, alcohol in general, it takes away my anxiety. But if I'm drinking, for one, I drink with my ancestors. But when I incorporate alcohol into my magic, it can help me because it can, it can push. To me, what it does, and no, I'm not encouraging people to go out and drink or partake in marijuana. I'm just telling you what works for me. But it can help. It can help a lot. But at the same time, this is something I battle with too. It's almost like, for the people that don't know this, I'm going to use this thing. Psychic vampirism, for example. No, that's a horrible one. I'm not going to do that one. I had a thing to go with that. But it's basically, and then we'll go. It's like exercising. Your pineal gland, your third eye, your magic, let's try to imagine it as some type of muscle, or some type of muscle. So, you can read as many books as you want, you can do, or, read and gain as much knowledge as you want, but if you don't actually regularly participate, or regularly use that, then it kind of, it doesn't stop working, or it doesn't go away, but, it's like the difference of using steroids and then going natural. I have another way that I can word it, but it's going to sound very weird. But it would be like... Well, no, I will use the vampire. Here we go. Very weird when I say this, but I think you'll understand. Say you got a psychic vampire and you got a vampire that feeds on blood. Again, this is not actual, thing. This is just for me to explain it. They basically do the same thing. Psychic vampirism and a vampire that feeds off of blood, they're basically feeding off the same thing, which is pure energy. There's a difference, though. Energy that, comes from your body, and then blood. Blood is your pure energy. So, the difference of that is, for a psychic vampire to be able to learn and control their abilities, they have to use them over and over again. They have to exercise them. If not, they have no control, and things go a little haywire. But a psychic, or a vampire, a blood vampire, they direct source, right? So what do? Bite you, and, blood. But what I'm trying to say is, if you go down the blood route, then eventually, over time, you're not going to be able to progress, because what are you doing? You're getting it directly from the source. You're not having to work for it. But energy-wise, or for the psychic vampire, them learning to control that energy to be able to pull it from a person to pull it into them, that takes what? Time, dedication, exercise. The craft is the exact same way. Now, again, like I stated before, I'm not saying every single day you have to do a spell, you have to do a ritual, because let me tell you, this is something they don't throw out in the books at all, and this is something that needs to be thrown out in the books. I thought I had a book beside me, but I didn't. It needs to be put out there. Magic True, real magic is draining as fuck. Like, draining. Straight up. And what I mean by that is, you can walk into a circle feeling like $1,000,000, feeling completely recharged. You know, you got those goddess vibes, those god vibes going. You are on your shit today, and you are on point, and you got this shit going, right? By the time you're done with that ritual, you can sometimes feel or spell. I've done candle spells. I've done tarot and oracle readings that have completely wiped me the fuck out. And what I mean by that is it literally feels like I just got through running a marathon. My brain is just like lack of sleep. You know how it is when you only get, let's say, 4 or 5 hours sleeps. You're feeling good. That first morning boost, you know that you're feeling good. It's after that. You still have 4 hours in your work shift to go, but your brain is melting at a rate of ice cream in the sun. That is what magic will do. And true enough, that is the reason that they say study and practice for like a year and a day, or, you know, do as much research and practice as you can. Because, again, the craft, practice. You have to hone in and make it your craft. You have to practice with that. And through that, and through watching or listening to these podcasts, I'm going to help teach you how to go back or go forward for the first time, or rediscover for the first, or discover for the first time, your true authentic self. Because some of the stuff that I do in my craft and my magic and my spirituality, a lot of people would be like, wait, what? But it works. And how do I know it works? Well, I'm still doing it. So something's got to be working. And also with that, for one, magic is draining as hell. And I'm going to say this again. Magic does not have a time limit. Some things can. Legit, if it's a 7-day candle spell, then of course, it's already been programmed to work in 7 days. But true magic, and if you are listening or if you are watching this right now, I want you to, at some point today, this is what you can leave with this, because I do have the Native American Oracle. I will be going over the Native American Oracle card. So, I'm slightly behind on that. But, back to what I was saying. Think back, some point today. Try to think back 3 years ago. Or, think back to the very beginning of this year. Okay? And then, or you can go back 2 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. Go back at least 1 to 2 years and think about all the spells that you did to get certain things or for certain stuff to manifest into your life. Look around and see if those things are there. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've done so many spells that did not work, nothing happened, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, great, you know, wasn't time for the universe. I mean, it just wasn't, you know, it just wasn't time, right? Only until 2 years later, through weird circumstances, for that thing to perfectly manifest into my life. And the reason that is, or the reason that I thought I did something wrong, was because thanks to the certain publishers, or the way that it's worded, I thought that, you know, which traditionally you do have to wait a full full moon cycle. My country came out. A full moon cycle, which is 39 days. Typically a lunar cycle is 39 days. I believe. You have to, traditionally that was basically wait for the full moon to the new moon and the full rotation of the moon. And then if it didn't happen, basically, then it wasn't supposed to happen. But I've realized that's not the case. Because we are so focused in magic, especially nowadays, in that insta shit. That shit where it's like, oh, I need $20 for bills. Instantly come to you. And then why? Great, you got it. You just did all of that work. You just used all of that energy only to get something instantly, right? And I started thinking, well, fuck, what? Which this is also where honey jars and stuff like the mojo bags and other magical stuff like that comes from. But that's what they are. Instead of doing a spell repetitively over and over again to just bring this in, honey jar money jar, witch's jar. These are things, especially the honey jar or the mojo bag. There are things and there are different priorities of them. Of course, as y'all know, I talked about before, I have a prophecy one that I do. Or a blood jar, I guess it would be called. But you basically, with these, they become magical things. They themselves, or it itself, becomes a magical thing. And what I mean by that is, say this right here was a honey jar, right? Perfect example. Sorry for the people on the podcast, but I'm holding a jar of rainwater in my hand. Imagine if this was the honey jar, right? Everything that you have in it right here, basically, over time, and the way it's done is you feed it. The honey jar, normally it comes with, the person who ever made it will also make special candles or a special rub or oil or herbs to go with that to burn it on top of that jar for the full moon. And that's basically you're feeding it. And what it does, though, is it's like a waterfall. It's constantly bringing it in. It's constantly bringing it in, but it's not necessarily pulling it from you. I would not suggest doing that. If you're not very experienced in energy work, do not try doing any spells to where you're binding yourself to like a tree or something like that. Don't. I've seen it done before. You can totally do it, but you have to be very careful with stuff like that. Like, for example, there's some people that's like, well, I'll plant this rose for a relationship, to represent my relationship. And that's a very great idea because that's what you can do with plants. You can plant certain plants, and those to basically represent your dreams. But nobody ever thinks of, oh shit, what happens if that rose dies? Does our relationship die? And it all depends on, spells are complicated. Magic can be complicated because, yes, so many people are like, oh, well, it's all about your intention, and oh, it's all about your mindset. Yes and no. It's more than that. It's deeper than that. You can set up spells to where it has layers. It's like an onion. You can set up fail-safes in your spells. There are so many things that you can do. We forget because it's almost like the concept of time. Time itself is theoretically a concept. The concept of time did not exist until humans discovered it. So with that, the humanity itself, we have basically enslaved ourselves, and we have to do all this shit by deadlines. We have to do all this stuff by deadlines. For one, magic don't have deadlines. But at the same time, through that, when it comes to magic and the craft, we forget that due to all these other people that have had the Lime Spot or who got books published, we've set this weird rule book up of like an unspoken, it's like a fight club for the witches. It's like there are unspoken rules that aren't really there, but they are really there. And I myself get confused at it because I'm like, wait, well, shit, if I do this, well, then want it to come back and like affect me like that. And then I stop and I'm like last night, for example, when I came in my craft room and like, I was just overwhelmed for a second. I stopped and I'm like, wait, you've been doing this for this long. Just do what fucking comes to you. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. And my guides and my spirit guides will tell me it don't work. Speaking of that, with that, I've heard a lot recently people that talk about, communicating with their spirits and all this other stuff. I wanted to say something and to kind of clarify what that is and what people mean by that. Because when I hear that, my head, I'm automatically picturing, like right now in my craft room, like I have like 4 or 5 people around me. You kind of like oof it up in your head, I guess. What I wanted to say to that was, yes, true enough, we can, and all of us do, I'm pretty sure at some point in time, we all have, no, sorry, I'm trying to post this, but we can all work with spirits. You can find your spirit guides. Now, this is going to be different because everybody is different. Some people, depends on how you incorporate, I guess. No, not incorporate. That's the wrong word. Communicate. There we go. Which goes into, if y'all haven't, to anybody who's new to this, on my YouTube page, there's a video called the 30-Day Spiritual Challenge. You totally need to check it out. For anybody who's listening to this, totally check it out. It's a challenge that I came up with, and if you are new to the idea of working with ancestors, honoring your ancestors, or incorporating them into your craft for the very first time, go check that video out. It's a 30-day challenge. You literally don't have to post anything on social media for it. It will only take you 5 to 10 minutes out of your day every single day. But I guarantee you, I do guarantee this, if you do it, truly do it, dedicate yourself for 30 days, or 60 days, 60 is too much, wow, 30 days of waking up and are separating at least 5 to 10 minutes and communicating with your ancestors. And I'll probably go into that a little bit later on, or different live, because, again, the video is up there. But you will get results. I guarantee you, this is the one thing I can say. I can guarantee this from my content, if you listen and keep up with it. By the end of by this time next year, by December the 26th, 2020, I guarantee you, your entire life will be changed. Now, I'm not saying, you're going to be living somewhere different or anything like that. But through my videos, I will help you find your authentic, true self. And with that, we will learn. We will change our perspectives for everybody and to everything. And that's the point of these videos, is to learn, is to I always go back to Albert Einstein. I believe it's Albert Einstein. No, it's not. It's Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison? I have learned 100 ways of how not to make a light bulb. That's perfect. Like, the craft in general, that it's for arrows. Now, with arrows in the craft, actually. Here's a question. What do you do if you're in the middle of a curse or hex or anything like that, and something goes wrong, or you think something goes wrong? For one, complete it. Unless your house is on fire. I was always taught, and I've always read, and it's always rang true to me, that in the craft, you have to... For one, you have to be authentic to yourself, of course. But at the same time, in the craft, there is trial and error. Because it's a craft. And you'll never perfect it. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't care how long you practice. You will never perfect witchcraft. Because it can't be perfected. It's something you learn every single day. You will learn something new every single day. And through that, and through these videos, I've learned so much insane things. For example, ears ringing. My ears have been driving me crazy lately. But I also realized and stepped into it, I'm a clairsentience. Or I think it's clairsentience. It's the clair of knowing is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that's clairsentience or because I think clairsentience is the nose. Anyways, I know things. I don't know how I know things, but I know I know how I know things, but I know things that I shouldn't know sometimes, actually a lot of the times. And only here recently, once I stepped into that, and what I mean by when I say I stepped into that is I stepped into it and announced publicly on here that I am clairvoyant, I am clairaudience, or clairsentience and clairvoyant, along with a few other things. And since I've stated that and actually stepped into it and actually owned it, it's gotten more intense. Holy shit. And it's annoying too. People don't talk about that. People do not talk about how annoying it can be. For example, with my Halloween Oracle cards, I can give you a reading and I'll see stuff in my head. And the stuff that I see, I know for a fact it's real. I know for a fact it's true. But I'm not yet comfortable enough to the point to where I must tell you what I see in my head, depending on who I read. If you're a complete stranger, that's different. But, you know, if if you're somebody I see on a regular basis, I don't want to call you out on your shit because you're going to take it as a personal attack, when in reality, it was... Yes, clairaudience. I have, weird... Well, I have trouble pronouncing words sometimes. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, well then I have clairaudience, and then well, no, I'm clairsentience too. See, it's so weird because I hate coming on here and I'm like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm this, I'm that, and I'm that. But at the same time, we all are. All of us have stuff. There are some people, though, that are born with, you know, one thing or another. But I can sense when a spirit is near me. I can sense when a spirit has walked in the room. I know things. I've used second sight before. And for the people that don't know what second sight is, I actually only learned this, not recently, but I learned it through talking to, the White Witch Parlor, or, yeah, the White Witch's Parlor. She's an amazing person, but, I used to sleep with a blindfold over my head when I went to sleep because I used to see things. Not necessarily going to say dead people, but I used to see things when I was younger. So I would go to sleep with a blindfold on. And through that, did I realize I was having moments where I would wake up and realize I'm looking around in my room. But I'm like, my brain's like, you know, you're asleep. And there have been moments where, like, I've touched to make sure that, like, the blindfold was still there and I actually was asleep. And the blindfold was there. My eyes were closed, or obviously could not see through that, but I saw every single thing that was in my room. And I've done that multiple times. And it's so weird, though, because it's the only time I've only been able to do it twice at will. Same, like, I'm so like untrained, and it's also because I did a shamanic shadow meditational journey before I was ready, and I kind of screwed my abilities up by putting a giant block up, which is slowly coming down. But through second sight, or these abilities, especially second sight, I've realized it's very weird because the only time that I use them is when I don't realize I'm using them, if that makes any sense. I had a moment, actually, through that meditation, the shamanic meditation, where I levitated. Not like 20 feet in the air, literally like 2 inches. But for that exact moment, my brain registered that there was nothing up under me besides cold-ass air. It stopped. And I realized that that's what they mean by when you have to practice with your abilities and stuff like that, is how we're wired, or this is how I'm wiring, or this is how I think this is. Our abilities, due to the simple fact of how the Western world is, you know, grow up, you know, stop using your imagination, that's not real, shit like that, we oppress it. Well, due to that, my abilities normally come and affect me when I'm asleep, which is what? When you're at your most vulnerable state, due to the simple fact you're conscious, or your subconscious becomes your conscious. You're waking, you know. So, like, I think it's that, but at the same time, you have to also have confidence in yourself. Because there have been a lot of times where, like, I get a feeling, or I had a thought that I should have said, and I'm like, no. And only to find out 5 minutes later what I was thinking or what I was about to say was spot on correct. But due to this fact that I doubted myself, I doubted my abilities. And that right there will also affect them majorly. What has helped me, my partner, he's one of the only people that I know for a fact, no matter what I'm about to say, he's not going to judge me. But try to find... I used to see things, hold on, I'll get into that in a minute, but try to find one person in your life that you can trust enough to where no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter what the experience is, to where you can actually go to them and be like, so this just happened. Or keep a journal of it, and that'll help too. And see, that's my issue with trusting myself. If I trusted myself and I had 100% confidence in myself, which I'm getting there, holy shit at what I would be able to do. And I'm not tooting my own horn there, I'm just saying in general. But with seeing things, I used to see things, vividly see things. Not in my third eye, but like this cup is right now. The first experience that I had with that is I don't remember how old I was. I know I was young. But I was asleep, and I woke up, and I was in my crib. I woke up, and I was crying. And I look up, and there is this elderly woman standing there. She had this, like, thing wrapped around her head. And she was there, but at the same time, she wasn't there. Almost like she was she was transparent. Or she was like a shade, if that makes any sense. She was there, I could see her, I could see features, but at the same time, she was this mist. It's like she was there, but she wasn't there. And she was talking to me, trying to comfort me. So I grew up only telling my mother, and then eventually I was 18, and my brother was getting married, and we were over there celebrating for Thanksgiving, and I told his wife that he was marrying, I was telling her about it. And my brother stopped, and my brother's white as it is, like, he's white, but he turned ghost white, and he looked over, and the only thing he muttered was, I thought that was a dream, because we shared a bedroom when I was younger, and he goes, I thought that was a dream. And I was like, oh, no, you saw her, she's real. And, like, to me, though, that was validation that I didn't even need, but I got because my brother had witnessed the exact same thing and thought it was a dream his entire life. And I'm like, no. Hold on, let me read this comment. Sister, because she's the same way, but crazy house. And see, that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is to be locked up and be considered crazy, or be locked up and actually have my rights taken away from me due to the simple fact they don't understand what's going on. I've never really truly freaked myself out except for last year, and I'm not going to go into the full story of this because if anybody sees this out of context, they're not going to understand it, and it could set a bad thing up for Oracle and Tarot readings. But I was doing a reading, an Oracle reading, and I'd been drinking with a dear friend, or with a friend, and I stopped, which I normally do not do this. I've done it once or twice to where there's sometimes I can shuffle, or the cards can be shuffled, and it's like they tell me nothing. Like, and it's only, that's very rare, but there are legit sometimes, there are some people where it's just like, nope. Well, this was different, because the entire situation around it was weird, but it's the first time I've ever got a reading like this. I was laying the cards out, and I wish my Halloween deck was, like, in hand's reach. Wait. I think it is. Oh, it fits in my bag. Like it's supposed to be. And they are not. Alrighty then. Okay, so, I was going to grab them and show you, but, my whole family's growing up thought it was weird and crazy. Oh yeah, my family always thinks I'm crazy. But with this particular reading, I was giving him, I was laying the cards down. And the Halloween Oracle deck, and Oracle deck in general, they don't have a death card, like, at all. And it was going, and I'm like, okay, well, I see this, I see that makes sense, that totally makes sense. And it was the last card that shook me to my core. And even now, my hair is standing up. And the reason this shook me to my core is because in that Halloween Oracle card, there is a death card. But it is not actually supposed to mean death. In any reading you get, your death card, traditionally, typically, it doesn't mean you're actually going to die. Normally, it means a death of something something in your life is going to fall away. It could be a death or a dead end, or an end of a job, an end of a cycle, basically. That's what the death card means. There's multiple other meanings in tarot, but basically, in general, that's what it's trying to say. Well, this particular reading was weird because when I saw the cards that were laid out and I had the images flash in my head, I was like, there's no fucking way I can tell him that because it's going to get us into a fight. Straight up, it'd get us into a knockdown, drag-out fight because this is shit that, if it is true, and there was something in me that, like, was saying this shit's really true, it probably would have freaked the person out just due to the simple fact I wasn't even in the state when this happened, when the stuff that I saw happened. I know I'm being very coded about this, but there's a reason. But, I reshuffled the cards again, and then he reshuffled them. I got the exact same cards, and it ended with the death card. That person passed away July of this year. So, now, am I saying I predicted his death? No. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying that with these gifts, they can, like, I understand where the true saying behind a gift can be a curse, or a curse can be a gift, or vice versa comes from. Because there are a lot of times I've gotten certain things, and, like, I would never say it, but, like, with my partner, for example, his mother passed away when he was 13. And she's very, very much still here. She's very strong presence. But I'll have moments where, and I felt extremely uncomfortable too the first couple of times I did this with him, but if I got that feeling, or if randomly for no reason his mom came to me, or the thought of her came to me, that's my way of validating that spirit, that's one of the ways that I validate the spirit's presence. And what's insane was there have been a couple of times that I've stated that to him, and then 5 or 10 minutes later, I said something, or my mannerisms, that something completely unlike me I would do, that would be something she did. And it's helped both of us, because for one, I've already, with my partner, when it comes to my abilities, I've had moments where I've scared the total shit out of him. And it was primarily, I freaked my mom out when I was 5. My mom lost a little boy 4 years before I was born. She picked both our names out when she was 17, but she told me she didn't name him. So I asked if I could see, and she said yes. It said Christopher Michael. Holy shit. I would have broke down too. But back when me and my partner both had, we were battling a lot of demons in our lives, there was a moment that I called him, asking him what he was doing, basically accusing him that he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing. And what I did not know, and did not find out until three years later, was there had been 4 incidences where I called him, because it's just this random thought and random feeling that, you know, something's not right. Something's not, I'm sensing, it's almost like using a force, I guess. I cannot believe I just said that, but it's almost like that, because it's like you feel it. It's just like this weird disturbance. And he told me, like, once everything had happened, and, you know, he told me, he's like, you don't understand, there were moments where you, by texting and calling me, you caught me dead fucking, like, I had them in my hand when you called me on the phone. He goes, you don't understand how many times you have legit scared the shit out of me with how spot on you are with some of the things. And my biggest reason that I did the blindfold thing, which just has nothing to do with dreams, but because of that, I am so freaking afraid to dream. Because, and now of course I know the difference between, like, the dreams that will come true and the dreams that won't. Normally I do, but there have been a lot of dreams that I've had where, like, I've legit, when I was in school, actually, there was, I had a dream that this tornado, like, just completely leveled the school that I was going to, and I was going to Brantley at this time, and I freaked out to the point where, like, I told my mom, and I was like, I'm not going to school, like, no. We didn't, like, nothing happened. True enough, Enterprise School, like, 2 years or 3 years later, got hit by that, but there have been other things that I've had happen in my life that I cannot explain. One of them, and the cool one, actually, is, I have this weird thing, and it's going to be kind of hard to explain, but I'm going to try. Mainly because I don't think anybody that's viewing this right now is actually can see the places that I'm talking about, but there have been 3 points in my life where, in the town or city that I was living at, there was always this neighborhood, that every single time that I would go through it or go by it, I was always, like, I was curious about what was there. 2 years ago, I predicted my mom's boyfriend's heart attack. He died 3 months after, and I called my mom and told her. See, I've had moments like that. I haven't, the whole death thing, I haven't done fully. But the place that I used to work at, one of the locations I used to work at, I have this knack ability for some reason, which is also why I joke that I was a chick in a past life. If I'm around females, I, especially depending on how close I get to them, if I'm anywhere near them when they start their time of the month, I wind up getting their symptoms. To the point to where there was one point I was living with my roommate, and she had issues down there, so like her time of the month were extremely different, extremely painful. And she got hers, and like she was completely fine. And I, on the other hand, I went to the ER because I was having pains in my stomach, only to have the doctors check me out and tell me I'm a liar. And I'm like, it feels like my stomach is being ripped apart and like shredded. Don't tell me I'm a fucking liar. There's something wrong. He couldn't find anything, but as soon as my roommate went out of, her time of the month was over, stomach was gone. But my old job, I predicted 3 pregnancies, as in, not necessarily, I didn't go up to them and be like, oh, you're going to get pregnant, but I went up to them and be like, you're pregnant. The other one, I slightly freaked out because I started craving. That's another thing. If there's anybody that I hang out with a lot that comes up pregnant, I wind up getting the cravings. And it's very weird because I've called that shit. There's so many things that I've done that, like, the people that I've witnessed them, there's like, okay, there's no way I can undo, like, and for the longest time, I used to claim that I was an empath. And I very well could be. But that's the problem with, like, all of these clairvoyances and clairaudiences and the clairsentience. The psychic abilities is, it's almost like a mental disorder. I have bipolar. I also have depression. I also have anxiety. But the problem with that is when I go and they're, taking the notes, 5 things that fall under the category of anxiety also fall under the category of all the other ones. And it's just like that. Empaths. You can be an empath and not be this. Or you can be this and not do that. And that's another thing that, like, here recently I've been doing with some of my magic is, and some of the things that I've manifested where, like, I'm at that stage where I'm like, wait, did I just do magic? Did I predict that? Like, did I just sense that that was going to happen? Or did I manifest that? Like, what's the difference? And, like, so, like, it's very weird that, and it's so cool, too, because my brain is like that. I'm very weird. I'm very fascinated with breaking stuff down. And when it comes to the psychic abilities, like, it's very hard to do good research besides just, like, Googling it, because nowadays, due to the internet and due to anything can be posted out there, like, I would personally rather have someone straight up come to me and tell me. And actually, that's a perfect thing. To kind of set a good example of how much I did not have, even when my own magic slapped me in the face with, like, bitch, I'm real, snap out of it, I still needed validation. I got a psychic medium to give me a reading at, by the way, if anybody sees this and you are located in Florida or anywhere near Gainesville, you should totally check out what I'm about to shout out, which is Blue Crystal. An amazing store, CBD headquarters of Gainesville, custom jewelry, one-of-a-kind art from all, and most of the stuff in that, it's also a consignment store. But they have crystals, tarot cards, everything. Shop owners, Linda, if you stop by there, totally tell her that I shouted her out. Tell her I said hi. But I got a reading there for my first time actually getting a reading from a psychic. Tarot read, it was an oracle mixed tarot reading and then intuitive reading. And it's so funny because, like, I got self-validation through that, but at the same time, I learned that it was a wake-up call because at the same time, my ancestors kind of came in and were like, you don't need her. Not that there was anything wrong with her. She was an amazing, gifted woman. The woman who gave me a reading, not the shop owner. I mean, the shop owner is an amazing woman too. But I have PTSD, anxiety disorder, and major depression. Some docs say bipolar, others say it's PTSD. Same. I have, which is the most recent development, which apparently I've had my entire life. It just got to a point now where, like, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, agoraphobia, severe anxiety disorder, severe PTSD, ADD, ADHD, anxiety disorder or anxiety panic attacks, bipolar, I think I'm bipolar 1, and then I also have seasonal depression. So all of that, I've also realized, though, is, and it's very hard, too, because when you do have abilities, figuring out what's your anxiety, and then what's your, or what I call spiritual anxiety, and what spiritual anxiety basically is, it's like, it's where you're trying to get a message, like somebody's trying to tell you something on the other side spiritually, but for some reason you can't get it. That tends to cause anxiety, and that can also cause headaches right here. And yeah, I learned that because like I stated, I went through a shamanic shadow journey that I thought I was ready for, and I wasn't. And something old, I want to say an elemental, but I'm not really for sure, but something very old, not evil, not negative, something very old decided to stop by and see me that night, and it scared me to a point to where I experienced for the first time in my life, one of the first times, the true fight or flight feeling. If you've never ever truly felt that, is the most terrifying thing you can ever feel in your life, due to the simple fact, what happens is every single ounce and every single muscle in my body was screaming, get the hell up and go inside, get the hell up and go inside, but I couldn't. Like, legit, my body was like froze. And due to that, I like threw up so many fucking psychic walls, it's not even funny. And my visual sight is still affected. I still see orbs, and I see little, I don't know what they're called, like little glistening. They're almost like sparks, or if like somebody was dropping like one single like thing of glitter and like it hit and it just kind of sparked and like went away. I see those a lot. I still can see, but it takes me a lot to see. One of the most phenomenal experiences I've ever had, and I don't know if I would like to have one of these again, just due to the simple fact it kind of freaked me out. Where I used to live, where I grew up at and where I used to live, it's right next to and very close to Horseshoe Bend National Park. For the people that don't know Horseshoe Bend National Park, basically it's a river that looks like a horseshoe, but the Civil War and all that stuff happened there, so very bloody and violent. But the road that my bus went down, it went through a lot of the original farmland and original land that like is still kind of untouched. It was in the woods, in the sticks of Alabama. But I'll never forget this day. We were, I was on the bus sitting by myself like normal, and I do the same thing now. When I get in a car, I'll stare out the window. And we were going, and there's this farm, or there's this farmhouse right here. Right here was this field and this little barn, kind of rusted barn set out from the back, and there's a barbed wire fence. And the road itself, there was like fog that morning, but it was weird fog because it had a bluish haze to it. And it's so weird too, because I'm pretty sure all of this happened like this, but how I was experiencing it felt a little bit longer. But as we were going by this field, this property that I've seen 100 times before by going to school, all of a sudden it was like I kind of like went, it's hard to explain, but I looked out the window and it was like I had just been transported back into time. I saw like the farmer of the land. He was on one of those tillers, but the ones that they would stand on, and they would have like a mule or a horse pull it. it was that, and then you saw like straight up old school, and it only like a second, but it was just like everything around me faded completely away, and it was like for that instant, to me it felt like a minute to 2 minutes, but it was just like it was like I was going down, and it was just history was replaying right there, and it was only on that plot of land, and I'd never had that experience since then. But it was so profounding that I know for a fact I didn't fall asleep. I was awake. Like, it wasn't just something that randomly, like, it wasn't a daydream or anything like that. And I did not know it then, but that moment right there was what set me up to get on this path. And for the people that have never heard how I discovered the craft or witchcraft, Scooby-Doo, believe it or not. Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, to be exact. It's the first time I heard the word Wicca, or Neo-Wicca, Eco-Wiccan, there we go, an Eco-Wiccan, wow, Eco-Wiccan, there we go. And through that, when I heard that name, I was like, wait, what the hell is that? And then around the time of that, actually, I was going to one of my schools, very good school too, Highland Home. They were donating books, basically, like they had just got a grant, so like our school library was clearing out some of their older books, and they were giving them away. Oh, I remember this day so much, because like my mom got a phone call from the school, and she thought I was in trouble. I wasn't in trouble. They were giving away books. I had a box, literally about the size, like, from here, like here. Big-ass box. I had it completely stacked, but it was in this particular day. I'll never forget the time that I first saw this book, and one day I will have a copy of this book. It had this old witch, old woman with the long, stringy hair and the black cloak, and she is gathered around this giant, huge black cauldron, and you see a line of different animals around them, and the fire's gleaming, and it's like this 70s, 60ish, 70ish, like artwork, sketch artwork, and it read, A Cauldron of Witches, the Story of Witchcraft. It was like short stories or true story. Basically, it wasn't a spell book, but it was the actual historical accounts and records of witchcraft in America and throughout the world. That book was the first book where I discovered that actual magic and witchcraft was a real thing. Before then, and even before Scooby-Doo, I always thought it was something of, like, fake. To this day, if it was not for me finding that book, because that book, I learned about the Salem witch trials. I did not even know that was a thing then until I picked up that book. I learned about the Salem witch trials. I learned about the Pendle witch trials. I learned about actually, interesting fact on that, for the people who do live here in the United States, Salem is not the only place that had witch trials. And, contrary to popular beliefs, there may have actually been 1 or 2 witches burned in the United States. Not Salem. They were hung, except for one who was crushed. But there were other witchcraft or witch hunts that went on throughout the United States. That's something that's not really talked about. So there's something you can do research on right there. Like, it blew my mind. It completely blew my mind that I was like, holy shit, because Salem has always been capitalized on. I also found out why. I did not know that either. It's actually because of Bewitched, the original TV series. When they came there and they shot the, what's funny too is I watched the episode I'm talking about last year, but when they went to Salem, Massachusetts and filmed there on location, that was the first time in mainstream anything that she portrayed a good witch. It wasn't like the Wicked Witch of the West and, the green and all that shit. She portrayed a true witch, and it was a normal person. And it was a female, of course. But actually Bewitched, because I've never been to Salem, but I'm pretty sure y'all have seen pictures. I never understood why there was a giant picture of Bewitched, or a giant statue of the Bewitched character in the middle of Salem. I was like, why is this? That's why. If it wasn't for that TV show and her going there, Salem, Massachusetts would not be what it is today. She is the one, that TV show is the one that sparked what Salem is now. Now, I want to go to Salem, not because, I'm a witch and, well, I must go there. Kind of. I mean, I do want to go there, but I want to go there to actually, to walk the grounds and to, like, experience, because I believe that's one of the reasons that, like, I have a hard time being, and this is, I don't know how people are going to take this, but let me finish before come at me. Being an American, living in America, it's extremely hard. Especially, cannot believe I'm doing this, but fuck it, I might as well do it. Especially if you are lighter skinned or Caucasian. And the only reason I'm saying this is because we live in a society now to where you kind of have a group of two people, which are, I don't know how to say that. Basically, we live in a society right now to where if I wanted to start doing research and try to actually, like, dig deep into my roots and say I found out that I have African American in me. Say that. I think I do, but I'm not for sure. Now, or, not going to touch that one. Native American. Say I did a DNA test and I had enough Native American in me to where I could claim in the state of Alabama to change my ethnicity. If I wanted to do that, there would be so much controversy behind it, it's not even funny. And see, that's where I'm confused at. Because for one, a lot of Native American people, I haven't really talked to a lot of them, so I could be wrong on this, but they don't necessarily like that when somebody they do a DNA test and they realize, oh, well, I have this percentage, so I'm going to change my ethnicity and I'm going to become this. Some of them view it wrong. Then, just like almost every other freaking person out there in society, we have this issue where nobody's I have, because I just don't give a shit about the other people, but the whole culture appreciation or appropriation. So many people are so sensitive, and being sensitive is a good thing, but at the same time, we're hurting so many things in so many ways, is because if I wanted to celebrate Hanukkah or Hanukkah, if I wanted to celebrate Hanukkah just to celebrate it and honor it, there would be people that would see that that's, that I'm doing it wrong. Or I'm pretty sure y'all understand what I'm saying. It's very, very hard due to the simple fact of stereotypes that have been brought up due to how I look, that if I wanted to start incorporating true Native American magic into my stuff, there would be a handful of people that would say I'm just appropriating it. Or, for example, this is a newer thing, but with conjuring, hoodoo, what I did not know is there are a lot of actual practitioners that are of the African American or darker skin that actually believe that these Caucasian people that are practicing it and primarily making money off of it by selling it as services, they believe that it's appreciation. Basically, they believe that it's not right because we're making money off of something like that or that. And in a way, I understand it, but it's like I always say, you're not appropriating it, and as long as you take something from another culture, you do your research respectfully, so you know the do's, the don'ts, the what to do, the what not to do, that to where it will not bring any disrespect to that. I don't see a problem with that, due to the simple fact you are helping that tradition and or religion or spirituality or culture in general. You're helping that culture move on and continue it, and that's what people, that's why, like, this topic drives me crazy when, like, they're Kardashians, for example. They're one of the main people that's always, that name gets brought up. But at the same time, if we don't start finding a way to keep these true traditions that a lot of them, due to the culture, it's passed down verbally, if we don't start opening up and learning how to, well, for one, it's the whole race thing. I am so sick of hearing the whole race thing. We're about to be in 2020. Both of our ancestors on both sides, on any ethnicity of our ancestors, they all fucked up big time, okay? We know this. Okay? We do. We know this. All of our ancestors at some point in time did some stupid ass shit. We get it. But we're no longer there. It's 2020. Or it's about to be 2020, for crying out loud. And we're never going to truly evolve as humanity if we keep letting these small things interfere with how we truly are supposed to live, which is to not judge people. If you get a group of babies from around the world together in one room, do you think they're going to, separate from each other? No! Why? Because they don't realize the difference. I mean, yeah, they see that it's different, but at the same time, there's not hate. Racism and hate, it's taught. It is not a natural thing. And it's just, it drives me crazy because, I guess I'm just to that point to where, I see so much stuff and I'm just like, why? My brain can't wrap around, what? No. Okay. I've been ranting. Thank you for everybody who has been keeping up with me. This is going to be a very long one, but time for the oracle card that I said I was going to do. I also said I was going to get more organized, but I'm trying. Thank God the holiday seasons are over, except for New Year's. So, yeah. There we go. We are going to be on the third one. Technically, it's the fourth one because this book starts with 0, but 0 as a card. So, the third card in the book is, let me make sure I did not do this. Okay, yes. The Father Sun, which is number 3, and the key words are direction, illumination, and active growth. What? So, prophecy is what it's called, the meaning. The Father-Son card represents a period of active growth. The energy around you at this time is bountiful. If you use it wisely, directing it towards future goals, your progress will be great. Set boundaries, be assertive, and direct change you are working towards. The Sun card illuminates the shadow side of the self, and in this path of coming into your own power, sometimes these realizations can be painful and require some sacrifice. Clear the way for progress to occur. Even though the path to enlightenment can be real challenging at times, with the Sun's energy you can conquer your fears through the process of self-illumination. Now this is the perfect time to do so. The Sun is a reminder that each of us has the opportunities every day to make a difference in the world. Shine your light on others and help them to see more clearly. And this is the affirmation or the prayer that they have with each card. Help me, Great Spirit, to recognize my own inner light so that I may project positive, loving energy out into the world and work towards achieving my goals with clear direction. And again, that's amazing because that kind of almost ties into what I've been talking about during during this particular live. So yeah, and not to mention the solar eclipse was last night or currently this morning. So that's ironic that it's the Sun. So, but with that being said, thank you so much for everybody who tuned in and commented. Thank you so much. The only thing that I ask, if you do see this at any point in time, if you resonate with it or agree with it, like it, share it. And yeah. So yes, I'm still planning on thinking about what I'm going to do for New Year's. If I am going to do anything, I would definitely let you know. But until then, I will be signing off. So, with that being stated, and since it's Monday, I hope y'all all have a great, magical morning, noon, and night. Again, I don't know your life. I don't know if you're coming home, going to work, going to school, what you doing. But I hope you all have an amazing week. I hope you all had... Oh, today is not Monday. See, I'm completely messed up. I thought today was Monday. Today's Thursday. I hope you all have a magical week. I hope you all had a great holiday, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.